All right, we are live, and hopefully I get the name right out the gate. Rekieta.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for some reason, it's one of those names where I would always read it as Rekieta,
Yeah.
but it's Rekieta, and I'm glad that I researched enough to hear you say your own name and not mess it up. It's sort of like we both know Viva Fry, and
Right.
people are like, "Yeah, Viva Free."
I
Free.
always call him Frey anyway.
Oh well. Hey, what does he want? It's not a real name. So how are you doing?
Yeah. Pretty good, man. Pretty good, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Dude, it's an honor to have you. I mean, you're one of the crazy band of lawyers that I've somehow kind of grouped up with, but I love nimble minds. And lawyers tend to have nimble minds and they tend to be very opinionated, which is cool. And you seem to be slightly more opinionated than others.
Yeah, maybe. No, I think I just feel a little more free to express them. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but we'll probably get into it. But no, I certainly have opinions and I like to share them with people and I like to be as honest as possible about it. And that's kind of what I've always wanted people to take away is whatever this guy is, at least he's telling the truth.
Thank you, Vine Nicole one. And you say emphasis on crazy. Which is cool. And I want to go back though, okay, because you're not familiar with my show, and I know I can see there's a lot of your fans here. They're chatting away, which is very cool. I am known for doing probably an obsessive amount of research, which is probably not healthy for anyone. But one thing I found out is, okay, so you were born in Texas and raised there till like around 10, and you lived in Minnesota, Twin Cities, small town, then Twin Cities and small town. That's about all I got.
Well, it wasn't small town, Twin Cities, small town. It was, we moved to a suburb of the Twin Cities.
Okay.
And then it was there until I was out here in small town, Minnesota. So, it was Houston, Texas to suburb of the Twin Cities to small town, Minnesota, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you went to school in a small town or something.
Oh yeah, I did. I guess I did do that, but that was, yeah, I went to school in Marshall, Minnesota. So that was undergrad. So that would have been after the Twin Cities area though.
And now you're in Wilmer, or Wilmar. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, kind of. I'm in Spicer, which is right by Wilmer.
Wow.
Wilmer's the very big town next to us.
Shouldn't you be on the list of notable people in the Wikipedia page? Shouldn't you be working that?
I used to be both Lord Interrogator of Spicer, Minnesota and Tard Wrangler of Spicer, Minnesota, according to Wikipedia, but it keeps getting edited out. I don't know what happened to those.
Tard Wrangler. I wonder. I wonder why. Okay,
I don't
know. Let me see. I think you're like 38, 39, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I just turned 39. 5 days ago. So,
happy birthday, man!
Thank you.
And how long have you been in law?
Let's see. This is year 6.
Okay.
I guess. I'm trying to figure that out in my brain. I think it's about 6. I think I was licensed in. This is my 6th year of licensed practice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I suck terribly at math, but that would put you out of law school at 33, probably going to law school around 30 or prior. So what were you doing before this?
Prior to that, I was working, before being unemployed, which was great. I was working at Thrivent Financial in their brokerage services area. And then before that, bouncing between several different banks, culminating in the worst year of my life at Wells Fargo in downtown St. Paul, which was, it was just a soul crushing job. It's horrible. And I would never wish that upon anybody.
So you're not naturally fitted as a corporate drone.
No, I'm very bad with people telling me what to do. That's ultimately, I think that's a good characteristic that I have. I mean, not good. Maybe it is, but you know what I mean? That's a solid characteristic, is trouble with authority figures telling me what to do. Doesn't work.
So accurate characteristic, essentially.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool then. So what got you to go into law school? I mean, that's got to be a little bit daunting, to go in there and be like, Jesus, now I'm, unemployed, go to school. All these kids are idiots.
Yes. That's an apt observation of law school. No. So I was, working at Thrivent we were in the Twin Cities. My wife and I, we were in the suburb of the Twin Cities where I finished growing up. Actually in the house where we used to live, or where I grew up, and everything was going fine, but we had a long-term plan to move out here to be by her family. And it was getting to be about time after marriage that we were coming out. I think we wanted to be in the Twin Cities for about 5 years and then move out here. And so Thrivent had this great habit of not wanting me to be in any other job than I was in, because I was very, very good at my job. Which is, I'm not like a guy who's like, oh, I'm great at everything.
What is Thrivent exactly? I'm confused.
Okay, so Thrivent Financial for Lutherans. They were an insurance company that started off with, it was a merger of two Lutheran companies, but Thrivent Financial, where I was they were brokerage services. So, IRAs, investment accounts and stuff like that. And it was kind of like the bastard stepchild business of the insurance part of the company. So what I did was merely managing cash in and cash out to brokerage accounts, and then tracking down money when it went missing and stuff like that became my job.
Tracer of sorts.
In a weird way, through their financial services sort of system. Because, if someone goes in and they fat finger the transfer of money from one account to another, it could go anywhere. And then after that, it gets journaled to a different account or transferred or invested in something. So it's my job to figure out like why things like that happened, how they happened, prevent them and fix them.
And that sounds like a software engineer or technical support in the IT field. I spend half of my time hearing from people that a system is broken, and then I have to spend a damn near a day going through and back channeling everything, only to find out what the idiot pressed or did.
Yeah, that was it. And the system, it wasn't overly complicated. And generally speaking, it was easy to follow, but it was prone to user error, and finding out where those errors occurred was always the trick. And since it was money and investments, finding it within minutes was critical, because you have stock prices changing every minute. And if someone puts in a buy order or a sell order, and we're not able to get that thing executed within a minute or two, you could be costing. Thrivent has to make up the difference when when they can't get a transfer done because there's an error. So, it could be thousands of dollars to quite a bit of money if the timing is off. So that's I was very quickly familiar with the system. So I, quickly became kind of the lead person in my group. And then we got an entirely new system. So I wrote the training manuals, and I was the subject matter expert, which meant when the phone people had a problem, they called me immediately. And I designed all of their sort of processes to getting answers to the reps faster and stuff like that. It was legitimately probably the one job I was really great at in my life. But eventually it just wasn't a well-paying job. And there was lots of room for advancement at Thrivent, but they didn't want me to leave.
Sure. You're trapped in expertise.
So I said, okay, then I'm going to move out into the country and I can either do that remotely or not do it. And so they said, oh yeah, sure, you can do remote access. And I moved out, and I did that for about 9 months from my house. And then there was a FINRA audit coming to Thrivent, coming to a branch near you. And they decided that I had a whole lot of private information at my fingertips. And it was basically secured only by my word. 100 miles away. They had not really moved to telecommuting. I mean, now everybody telecommutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't they have VPN, dude? I mean,
yeah, now they do.
I was gonna say, like my work setup is, I use Macs at home. Yeah, I'm
Sure.
a big nerd, but I have a big PC at work, and I literally will remote in via two-factor communication, and I'll work on my desktop. So I can't print off of anything I'm on or anything else. Everything is actually contained within the building. I would think they could do that.
They have now. The brokerage area was like the last one of them to go remote, and it happened about a year after I left, where everybody fully was able to go remote. But I was part of the pilot program, where 3 people in the whole department had laptops that they could, company laptops that we would take home. And they just did not have a system built for it. Now, of course they do. And everything's great for that. But this would have been 2010, I guess, 2009 to 2010. And so they're a very conservative company, and they were holding off on it. They said, there's a big audit coming up, and we would love to have you back in the office, but we can't do the remote access for your job anymore. And I was like, well, I'm not driving 2 hours in and 2 hours home, skipping traffic every day. So I'm peace, I guess. And I made part with the company on very amicable terms. So it was good. I got a lovely bonus after quitting. Several months later, they paid me a bonus for no reason. And then
sure it wasn't a payoff. What exactly did you leave with here? You said you had private information. Maybe it was a preemptively, like, in case you accidentally forgot to turn some of that in. Here you go.
No, everything was on their machine. I mean, it was in my office at home. I had my computer over here, and I had an L-shaped desk, and I had their stuff plugged in on its own thing. It was never interfaced up to my computer or anything like that. So everything was very secure. They just couldn't verify that it was secure.
Sure.
But no. So when I left the company, I was like, I can get a job here in this Wilmer area. And I started looking around, and like, everything is retail. I've been doing banking forever, but all the banking services there were retail, and I hate retail banking. I didn't want to work at any retail stores. Other than that, it was, construction type stuff, manual labor, which I've never been wonderful at. I don't mind it. I like doing manual work, but I don't have like a background in it. And so I basically screwed around for a year trying to figure out what to do. And I said, what can you do anywhere? Lawyer. Okay. That's what kind of prompted me into going to law school, was kind of the necessity to do something and to be able to do something no matter what size town I was in. And I had also, as I guess I should go into this, as a bet, I took the LSAT while I was still working at Thrivent. Actually, I took the LSAT 2 years before going to law school. Mainly because one of my coworkers took it, and I bet him I would do better. So then I beat him by 1 point. And so then I had a good LSAT score, just sitting there. And so then it was, I was like, well, I guess I could probably do this. I like arguing with people. So that's kind of the genesis.
Well, it sounds like, what you did, like, first off, it sounds like you were good at reading people. by the job you had, if you're trying to find errors in the system, and the errors are usually the short between the seat and the keyboard, then you have to be able to read people's patterns and behaviors.
Probably. I'm decent. I'm a decent communicator. I'm pretty good at figuring out what's going on with people and seeing where they are. So yeah, I suppose that probably factored into it.
And you're also having to learn some complicated processes and things like that. And isn't law essentially a bunch of rules and standards and documents that you have to be able to say, no, it can't be A because fill in the blank B overrides it, or whatever.
Yeah, law is an interesting mix of that. On one hand, you have the very procedural aspect of it. There's a set of rules. If you follow the set of rules, a given set of things happens. A friend of mine has described it as having magic words, right? It's the magician. You say,
Well, your
say the
crew's
right
picking on you, buddy.
What was that?
Decent communicator. Clearly, you've never heard yourself read.
Wow. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you.
They're following you here. Yeah, everybody saved up. Yeah, while you're here, make sure you hit subscribe, please.
Yes, definitely.
I'm trying to get into the 5-figure club with the cool kids.
Absolutely. But yeah, so you have the magic word section where you read these things and then you write them down and communicate them, and that happens. But then you have the other aspect of it, which is really what I think is the important part that's harder to learn. And that is figuring out what's going to make the person across the table from you, be it a opposing counsel, a judge, another, even your own client, what's going to get them to kind of see things your way. That's what is a really difficult part of the job that I think really does come, I'm not going to say naturally, but comes from the sort of nurture, how you're brought up and who you deal with over the course of your life. And that's something I've always been okay with, figuring out what to say to the other person, even when I'm screaming at a Best Buy employee or whatever.
Well, I mean, was it advantageous that, okay, you had a full work experience behind you? You obviously had major responsibilities. So then you go to law school, and it had to be, I'll flat out say, it had to be easier for you than half of the students there, because you've been in the real world environment and having enough analogous life experience to be able to figure out which way things should or should not be going.
I don't know if it made it easier or not. What I do think personally, I don't think they should let people into law school out of college. I don't think that should happen. I genuinely believe that if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to go to law school, you should have some work experience outside of that. And I think a significant amount personally, because I find it weird to think that we're going to take someone, put them in a K through 12 education. They're going to go directly into undergraduate school. And then at 23 years old, they're going to go into law school, and they're going to then at 26, without having worked a single job, many of them not being married or anything like that, are going to come out. They're going to advise business owners how to run a business. They're going to advise married people getting divorced, what they should do. They're going to tell parents what they think is in the best interest of children. They're going to do all this stuff that is extremely sensitive and nuanced and critical. And they're going to have no life experience doing it. And that is the majority of lawyers coming out. But what I went to night law school, because that's the only schedule I could do. Sure. And so where I went was William Mitchell College of Law. And don't ever catch me saying anything good about William Mitchell. I'm not a guy who has pride in the school. It was like, I don't care. They're fine. I liked some of the professors, but other than that, I mean, who really cares? I went to the one school that had a schedule that was in Minnesota that I could do. I was already married. I lived 2 hours away, and I had a kid. And so it was, for me, it was, okay, how do I do this? How do I work this into a schedule? I could not go to the cities full time and be there every single morning till every single night. So it was part time in the evenings at William Mitchell. I only applied to one school and I got accepted and I got a scholarship into it. So everything was great. But yeah, I went there, and the good thing about going to night school is that most of the people you're in school with they're non-traditional students,
Sure,
right? So
sure.
I was a little older than some of my classmates, but I was pretty close to the average age of
Probably some
enrollment.
GIs in there too, right?
Yeah, we had all sorts of people. We had GIs, we had people who had been political campaign workers. They'd done the political aspect of it, or they'd been legislative aides, and then they wanted to move into full careers.
What's your undergrad?
Literature and creative writing.
Okay.
So the laziest undergrad I could pick. It was perfect.
Great for law. Very good for law.
It is. And that's something that no one tells you. But when I was doing the interview at the school because a friend of mine told me, go interview with the admissions department, because it's probably like 3 ladies. And so go interview with them. And then that way, when they see your name pop up, they're going to go, oh, I remember that guy. Some of the best advice I ever got on as far as going to school. So I went and did the interview, and they're like, so what was your undergrad? And I said, literature and creative writing. They're like, oh, so you can write? I'm like, I guess. So so many of our students, they can be great at whatever, but if they can't write, it's too late to teach them how. We try and we teach them legal writing techniques and stuff, but it's just the underlying elements of writing that they're not good at. And that ship has sailed. When you get to someone, they're 25, 26 years old, they're not very adaptable to redoing what they've been doing for the past 10, 15 years of writing. So they're really happy to have someone with a writing background, whatever that is. It might not be a writing major, but any other major that does a lot of writing can be really helpful.
Well, it fits right in. I mean, we have constitutional arguments about a semicolon, for God's sake. So
right.
it's kind of critical.
Yeah.
Last time I checked. So knowing grammar, knowing writing is sort of important. So awesome. Okay, so you got out of law school, and now it sounds to me like being in a small town, what is population, like 20,000, which is actually a small city. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, Spicer's smaller.
Spicer's real small. Wilmer's about 15, 20,000. Yeah.
Okay. Which is moderately, that's a small city.
Yeah.
You had to be a generalist then.
Basically, that was the idea. I got out, and at the time I got out, I went and I applied at all the law firms. No one was hiring. It's like, oh, okay, well, who cares? So I set up my own shop, and then it was take whatever walks through the door. The one thing I didn't take was DUI stuff, because which was not a great business move, but I will defend a lot, but it was a really hard idea for me to go in and say, look, you could have run into my family right on the road. And so I think that everybody deserves a great defense and everything. I just figured there were better people to do that aspect of law. So that one I would refer out, but everything else, I would take. And if people are looking for like the moral equivalent there, I couldn't find one, because if I was doing a domestic assault case, there still wasn't a chance that they were going to domestically assault my children, but a drunk driver, it was just something that's like, man, it's tough. So the only DUI case I've worked on was one where they said, I told them my feelings on it, and they said, I want to plead guilty. I just need help doing that. And I said, okay, that I'll do. And we'll get you a good deal or whatever. But generally speaking, I did not want to deal with that aspect of law, but everything else. Yeah. Anything that came in, I would do. I hate family law. I would do it, but I hate
See,
it.
that would be something I would have problems. I mean, you have what, 4 kids, 5 kids? I forget.
5, yeah.
Okay, and what, 6 soon? I mean, are we?
No,
You guys
we're
still
done.
growing?
We are done. Whew.
But I mean, as obviously a huge family person, that has to. I mean, one, there's got to be strain at home, just the stress of everybody and keeping track of everything, and
Right.
you have to really feel for the clients in their situation. That personally would just tear me apart, knowing half of the time they're just both being assholes, and and it's just like, well, it would be a case of, as soon as they see you, they're screwing themselves over so hard because everything's getting sucked out.
Yeah, I just the family law stuff is soul crushing. I mean, I still have an ongoing case with a kid whose dad was beating him since he was just a couple months old. And when I took on the case, he was 9, I guess. And he's like 13 now. And I was the first lawyer to get him away from his dad. I was the first lawyer to be able to get an order of protection. The state, the family had hired 2 lawyers before me. They couldn't get the state to intervene. And I was able to, and not because I think it was mostly timing. I didn't do anything special. But it was a tough case because he's like almost the exact same age as my oldest kid. And so, and that's one of the reasons I couldn't say no, because I met him and he's a good kid, he's just normal and stuff. And to see this happening, it was like, so I hate doing the family law stuff, but at the same time, like, when it needs to be done, I was happy to help out.
Corona says that you did a good job.
Thanks, Corona, you bum.
I know, I can see on the side. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of inside jokes that I'm not privy to, but they're very cool.
Well, the one thing you got to know about Corona is he's about 3 inches shorter than I am. That's the most important thing to realize about him.
Okay, so is he as short as Viva Fry?
Probably shorter. I don't know how tall.
Viva's 5'5".
Oh yeah, Corona's way shorter than Viva.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, he's a little midget guy. I'm kidding. He's actually about an inch taller than me. He's about 6'3".
Oh,
6'4".
okay.
So.
What the hell? Okay. People don't let Rackets wiggle out of being grifter of the year. Hold his feet to the fire and make him own his potential clients that he educates us on finer points to look for in a representative. Is that a preventative bad vibes or and on that note, actually, because it's always cool, what is, obviously don't name names or anything else.
Sure.
What's the funniest case you've ever had?
Funniest case.
Yeah, I don't know. Tragedy.
I don't. Well, I mean, I have clients that have done funny things. The cases, they're always either sad, or they're frustrating because it's like, when it's not sad, it's like the government stepping in and doing something that is just entirely irritating. And you have clients who do really funny or ridiculous things in those cases, but there's usually a lot of bad stuff going on. One of the weirdest ones, that's it had some funny activity to me anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm messed up. It was a domestic issue between a girlfriend and her ex, and the girlfriend had busted in to the ex's room and was threatening him with a knife, which isn't funny, but she was so hammered in the video that she's not coming across to, like, again, I'm not I'm not in that guy's shoes or whatever, and I'm watching
Sure.
it from the outside. But she is just trashed, saying a bunch of funny stuff in the video as she's waving this knife around just loosely in her hand. And it's like, okay, it's kind of sad. And that person was, that girl was actually like a normal person. She was just really hurt and really drunk at the same time. And it made her act really goofy and stupid. And everything turned out okay between them. No one was hurt or anything. And everybody kind of, those issues got resolved pretty well for everybody. But it was just watching that video, because I have the evidence videos of all this, stuff that you wish you could share, but you can't. But watching that video and stuff was pretty good. The guy like retreated into his room and he turned on a webcam. It was obviously like he knew what was coming, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he was doing that. But
so it is funny because he wasn't genuinely threatened. If he knew all this to plan it ahead of time, and she was that trash, and he was calm enough to be able to, hey, hold on, wait, let me turn on the camera here. He's kind of toying with it a little bit. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that if this guy was actually scared for more than about one moment, I mean, he might need to have something checked. But because like, this is not a big girl, right? It's not. He could have any average person could have overpowered her or whatever, and especially in the state she was in, there was really, really no danger. But yeah, I mean, that was a funny one. But you get other things. Oh yeah,
we got Keck 7 to go. Looks like one of you people. What about the Ghost Homeowners Association?
Okay, yeah, I guess that was pretty funny. I forgot about that one. This is a case with someone who bought a multi-unit. They had one of the units, and it was supposed to be a 4-unit building, but they only built 3 of them, and they never built the 4th one. So they just had basically an interior wall on the exterior of the house. And this is Minnesota, right? So that's terrible.
Not warm.
And the person bought this thing after the crisis, the housing crisis in 2008. And so they bought it at a pretty good price, but they bought it with the expectation that 4th unit would be built on to the end. And so when, they came down to it, and they'd had some issues with the homeowners association before, and they said, fix the wall, or build the unit, or I'm not paying my association dues type thing, and stopped paying their dues. And the association got really mad and ended up suing them in small claims court. It was very, petty amount. It was like $3,500, maybe $4,000, something like that. That had been, and we're talking, this has been going on a while because the dues were like $50 a month. So they had been building up for a significant amount of time at this point. But they had, they had a good claim. The wall is an interior wall. It let a lot of cold air in. It really should have been finished off, or they should have built the building, and they just weren't going to do it. So when I start researching the case and I look, the association had actually been dissolved. The homeowners association, it didn't exist as an entity. Because Minnesota had a thing where you could have a homeowners association and have an effectively permanent entity for it. And then they changed that law where it had to be renewed every year, like every other entity. And they gave everybody like 2 years lead time of notice. They sent notices out constantly during that 2 years. Remember, all you have to do is send in this one document and $125, and you'll be fine. Your association will be registered. They didn't do it. And then it was 3 years later of still not doing it, where all they had to do was send in that same piece of paper and $125, and they would still be an entity and everything would be fine. But after 3 years of not doing it, they were administratively dissolved. The state reckoned that it didn't exist, because surely somebody in 5 years total would have gone ahead and registered this company and reminded the state that it was an entity that operated. And so we get into court, and there's, it's small claims court, so most people don't bring a lawyer. And so the other side is just these two old ladies from the association. And they start talking, and I said, Your Honor, we'd like to make a motion to dismiss. And she says, okay, why? And I said, well, they don't exist. The old lady looks over at me and she's, we most certainly do exist. And so it was good times. The judge ended up dismissing the case, and that made them really mad. So then so then
they got their paperwork figured out.
They got their paperwork figured out within 2 weeks of that. They hired a local attorney here in town. He's a really good guy. I've worked with him on a couple different cases. Nice guy. And we got everything sorted out between the two parties. We got them to fix the wall.
There you go.
Which is really, my client wanted to sell the property, right? She wanted to sell the property and get out of there. And couldn't, because this wall wasn't fixed. So they couldn't pass inspection, so they couldn't make it saleable. So you couldn't give them a good deed on the property. You could give them, you could do like a quit claim or something like that, but people don't really want that. And they don't want an inspector coming in and saying, yeah, that wall's terrible. So we got them to build the wall, just like Trump, I guess. And and then everything worked out. But it was getting the lawyer on the case and him saying, this isn't right. How did you do this? It's like, well, they don't exist, though. You have to recognize that they don't exist. I know you know that because you advised them to fix their status. So, but
nice.
It was good times.
Okay, I got a question here that's probably actually relevant and helpful to people, and I should have thought of it myself. What do you think is important for regular people outside the legal profession to know/learn about the law?
I will say this. The law and the legal system is not for regular people in any way. You can't afford it. You don't want to pay for it. Being in it is crushing and terrible. The stuff, the thing to remember as a lawyer, which will help you, this will help you understand the perspective from the non-lawyer's perspective, is we're dealing with people no matter what the issue is, really. Overwhelmingly, it's one of the worst or most stressful times of their lives. If it, and that applies to a divorce, that applies to, I mean, I make jokes about this exterior wall, but this is, to put it in perspective, this is probably 3 years of my client's life spent wanting to sell this thing, being in a dispute with their neighbors, right? It's a homeowners association. They're in a dispute with their neighbors, fighting over this. They're the one person who's not paying their dues. Everybody's glaring at them because, at some point they all have to pay like an extra $1 or $2 to make sure the trash gets picked up. And they see my client's driveway still getting plowed, and they're like, well, she doesn't pay her dues. Like that is a nasty ball of building tension and stress over 3 years. And so we're always dealing with something that, especially for the time they're in it, is consuming, and it is the most stressful thing someone's going through. So what that means for non-lawyers is that's you. That's you when you're accessing the legal system. It's
sounds
never
like a cop. Cops are always like, we're here, especially homicide, we're here on your last day or worst day.
Right. Yeah. That's probably worse than most of the time that I was dealing with, because small town, I didn't deal with too many deaths, only a little in the estate side, but really it's a nasty business. It's too expensive. The stakes are really high. And so the reason I say that is if you have any alternatives, use them, use those. I had so many people call me up and say, I had this thing going on. Should I tell him that I've got a lawyer? Like, will you talk to him? I said, the second you do, The second you have me call or write a letter, the whole relationship changes between you and them.
True.
And now they're going to be calling their lawyer, and then the bill starts running on them, and your options for fixing it start diminishing very quickly. So my sagely advice on the legal issue is, unless you are really wealthy, you probably, and even then, you probably don't want to pay for the service, both through financial resources and through emotional resources. So
okay, sometimes it's better to just eat it while it's small than
it's
suffer.
it's often better to eat it than, I mean, when you start getting up into $100,000-$200,000, right?
Sure.
Obviously there you don't have a resort left, and you're going to go to the legal system. But when you're arguing over a couple hundred, even a couple $1,000s, you might be able to get those couple $1,000s, but it might take a year, 2 years to do it. And in that time, all sorts of stuff could happen. And if you hadn't focused that energy on a lawsuit, what could you have done? You know, is that the right move? And a lot of people want to use it to punish the person who wronged them, because we want that sense of justice and retribution. But man, a lot of times I see people fighting over stuff. It's like, this should never have happened. This should never have gotten here. And now you're stuck in this pitched fight for what? I mean, I got a judgment for someone for $1,280. Was this worth $1,280? This is terrible. But that's what they needed. I guess that's what they thought they needed when they started the process.
Well,
I don't know.
I hope they were satisfied in the end.
They were. I mean, we won, and we won handily. And the stuff in that lawsuit was absolutely infuriating. It involved false police reports, an attempt and a jail stint for my client because of those false police reports. And then some, there were restraining orders that were based entirely on lies, and we got all of them thrown out.
Okay, so there was a little bit more to it than, reputation and things like that were also involved.
Yeah. Well, it at that point, that was once we were that far in, is when this stuff started happening. At the beginning, none of that was going on. That was sort of retaliation for how things went. Now, this is in that particular client, that was all of their possessions were locked in a rental unit, and they weren't given access to them, which was entirely wrong on the landlord's part. And they really didn't have any other resources to go to, because cops don't get involved in landlord-tenant disputes as quickly as they really should. Even when the law is clearly on the tenant side that says they should have access to their stuff, the cops are like, but we don't really want to go and knock down this person's door. It's like, but that's theft. They're just holding someone's property. And these people were absolutely vile. The other side, normally, I can kind of see where the other side's coming from, and it's a dispute. These people were just trash. I don't know how else to describe them. They were awful. And the actions that they took in the case were really, really terrible. They ended up killing my client's pets.
Jesus.
They sold the one remaining pet that lived to a pet store, and tried to pretend that it was, they actually told, no, this is worse. They told the pet store that my client stole it from the pet store. And so returned it to the pet store. I think my client got it off of like Craigslist or something. So it was, and so then that involved a fun rescue of the pet from the pet store that we did. That was good times, but
it's vile.
Yeah,
honestly, I'd be going after them criminally if they kill. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were lizards, right? And they killed them by not feeding them. If they had like killed a dog or something, it's a little easier. But if you tell cops they killed their lizards, who cares? It's lizards, get other ones.
Right.
But for my client,
lizards have rights too.
They do. Lizard people have rights too. I'm joking.
I know.
They don't. These lizards were, for my client, that was like therapy animals, because they were with them during the most like these nasty transition periods in their lives. They were going through a lot of stuff. So it was really, really traumatic for my client. Whereas for me, I mean, if a lizard dies, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, there's a problem. Lizards are like fish to me, in the sense that, if they're not furry, I just have trouble relating to them. And I know that's terribly immature, and they have equal rights, everything. But I mean, like, I had tortoises growing up, and they were cool, and I thought they were neat to look at, and they didn't move too fast, which was neat. But I didn't bond as easily. Gotta chat here. Did your kid get her Pikachu back?
They went immediately to that spot, and they liked it. It was very comfortable. So that's yes, they have their Pikachu back. Okay. You probably don't know about this, but
I missed this one.
So you missed this in your research. No, I'm just kidding. Yes,
too many hours, dude. Too many freaking hours.
on Twitch yesterday. So this is just yesterday. I
did see you dressed in a rather alluring manner briefly, which I do have pride.
I'm surrounded by stuffed animals. What I was doing is I passed 10,000 followers on my Twitch channel. And my Twitch channel it started because I would, after my show, I would like play a video game or two, because kind of, energy's up and stuff from the show. I can't just go and fall asleep. So I'll play video games or whatever. So I thought, well, I'll just play video games with, and people can watch if they want. And it's just steadily kind of grown since I started it. And so I did a Twitch thought stream, right, where I was acting like a Twitch girl. So I dressed in short shorts. They're supposed to be thigh-high socks, but as a 6'2" man, it's hard to find socks that go that high. And so they kind of went up to the knee. And then I had cat ears, and I sat around just insulting my audience for like daring to watch. Just like, these sort of entitled Twitch girls do. And that was the whole gag. It was a ton of fun. But I mean, it was a little, you had to
Bad
put on
vibe says grifters gotta grift.
Exactly. They do.
Right. Very quickly to finish out the law part.
Yes.
Dragon's Treasure, letter versus the spirit of the law. Which one wins most often in court, do you think? Do you shape arguments, cases around either or?
That's a tough choice. It's a combination of both. I mean, the case law is what wins. And whether that's letter or spirit of the law is really dependent on the statute and the common law itself.
How about if it's a jury or otherwise? To me, if it was a jury, it might shape one way over another. Like a judge is definitely going to be case law, right? Versus a jury, you might be able to sway a little.
Sort of. Juries are a weird bag. I had my civil procedure professor runs a company that does fake trials for wealthy clients, typically businesses. So they'll actually hire both sides, counsel for both sides. They will fully brief and present the cases to 3 different juries. And 3 different juries of 6 or 9 people, however much they want to pay for. And they'll have a full trial. And then those juries will meet in their private sequestered rooms, and they will return, their jury opinions on it. So this is it's a testing ground for big companies to see if they want to litigate an issue or not. And what they find is that when they have 3 juries, they often will get 3 different answers.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
and why I have all the body language experts. That's their job.
Yeah, right.
Is to tell you what the answer is going to be.
And in these cases, those 3 juries, those 3 panels, are watching the same thing. So it's not like it's presented at 3 different times for them. It's presented the same. So they're all literally seeing the exact same information, but then they go back into their rooms and it's all recorded so that the companies can kind of get a lot of observation on the juries and what kind of discussions are taking place. But you find that the jury personalities inside jury rooms are what really matter. You'll have 1 to 2 strong personalities in the groups, and those strong personalities will dictate what will happen in your case.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And unless you can kind of figure that out from where you are litigating, you're not really going to know how that's going to go. But I think it does make a difference for juries. Certainly, you want to be persuasive and you want to go towards the spirit of the law. In criminal law, you really want to go with the spirit of the law, and you want to appeal to the sensibilities of the person. Like, look, if this is your kid, right? You want them to go to prison for this. That's a little bit insane, especially when you have like a non-violent crime.
It's like, you're looking to kind of get the jury nullification ultimately.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. You can't really mention it, but
well, and, you
know, you guys don't have to put up with this crap. You can just tell us we're all stupid and wasting time. That'd be great. But but yeah, you want to get on their sense of justice, whatever that may be, right? Is justice really prison in this instance? Do you really want them to? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I would say generally when it's a statutory issue, the letter of the law is going to win most of the time, because the letter of the law is what is going to guide every decision up to the verdict. Even in a jury case, the letter of the law is going to guide what's happening with your evidentiary issues. It's going to guide what's going on with your experts being qualified. It's going to guide all of those decisions leading up to it. And then you're going to have the jury is going to be left with whatever you've preserved throughout the case to go ahead and solve that. So that one will kind of hinge a little bit, but all of the stuff leading up to that is almost purely letter of the law because you're dealing with the judge. And same thing in civil actions, you know, it's letter of the law for the overwhelming majority of the technical parts of the case. And then you're sort of, if you get past all that, your sort of final plea is upon the court of some sort of sense of justice or rightness or correctness, and that you want to look for. And you can make the argument that as a policy standpoint, this is bad law, and we should interpret it this way to be more correct. This is what they wanted to have happen, and we're doing it wrong. But I think letter of the law typically is going to win out.
Well, you've got to get past the judge. So even in a jury, you're going to have the judge will slap you down every 20 seconds if you're trying to pull fast ones, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But let me see. I think this is one of yours. Wait, is this the guy who did a body language assessment of the deposition of videos on Vic's case? No, I don't do them, Rhinoceros Rex. I have body language experts on here. That's just kind of one of the groups I hang out with. I am not an expert, just like I like talking to lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I just kind of talk out my ass a little bit, but anyway, and kind of get myself in trouble like I did on Friday. But anyway, I just have fun and I like to challenge people and things like that. And that's kind of going with the Nearnath's comment Eridia, which I don't even know anymore. So, here we go.
Who knows?
Can I get a brief overview of the channel? The brief overview is I talk to awesome people like Nick, Viva Fry, body language experts, FBI agents. Have you guys ever seen Narcos? I've had both of the actual DEA agents who were featured in Narcos. Just cool people, and I love to learn. And was there anybody who did the body language on those depositions you were covering?
I heard there was. I haven't watched them.
I'll have to find them because it's like they haven't been on my channel. I don't think.
Might have been Body Language Ghost.
Oh, okay. I know Mandy. Mandy's been on.
Oh, well, there you go.
Mandy O'Brien. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if she actually did.
She's very controversial.
Yeah.
So you should know her.
I should know her. I would love to talk to her, but yeah, it's a pseudoscientific field.
Sure.
And so that produces results that people can dispute as they choose, whether or not those results are right. Like, it's like, well, this is a pseudoscience, so they're just making half of it up. It's like, well, that's not really how pseudoscience works, but okay. I watched a couple of Body Language Ghost videos. Mandy, you said her name is?
Yeah. Mandy O'Brien.
And I found them to be terrifically insightful. So I think I watched her Christine Blasey Ford video.
You'll definitely get something out of that. I respect Mandy a lot. I don't put her on the same tier as Body Language. I'm sorry, the Behavior Panel. Okay. I've had all of them on multiple times, and each of them has over 20 years experience in the field through negotiation, etc. And they're the ones who be picking your jury for you. I mean, they're very, very, very high level.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I had Scott Rouse on because Barnes is a huge fan of them. So I had Scott Rouse on with Barnes and everything else. So
cool. I saw that one the other day. It was Viva, Barnes, and Scott Rouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I need to. I haven't watched it. I saw the.
No. I'm cool. Yeah. It's a good one. It's a lot of fun, especially. You don't get to see Barnes fanboy a lot. and Barnes is a huge fan of Scott Rouse. So there's a little bit of a romance going. It's sweet. And I'm having Greg Hartley come on next month. But now I want to start shifting into this because, well, I know you as a YouTuber primarily, and it sounds like you started out as just really a fan of a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a fan of a podcast called The Dick Show. Still am. Dick Masterson is a comedian in LA. And he's a satirist as far as controversial people. He's way up there for people who know him.
As Meta Stanhope, or
I don't know. He wrote a book. It's called Men Are Better Than Women, which got a lot of because people don't understand satire, right?
Right.
Satire and parody are things that are. We think of parody now as how do I word it? The Wayans brothers, right? Or the Airplane movies. Like, parody now it's got to be so over the top,
right,
to get people to get what it is. And satire is, the level, sort of the subtlety level is below parody, where it's got to be so close to serious that you think it is
droll. It's closer to the British roots.
Yeah.
Well, British can be silly, but they also have that droll quality, which is very, very.
And so he wrote this book, Men Are Better Than Women. And he wrote that. I mean, it's probably 12 or 13 years old now, something like that. And then he and this guy, Maddox, did a podcast called The Biggest Problem in the Universe. Maddox is another internet satirist. And I guess. And they had a great, that podcast is really, really good. It's just two guys, and they brought in every week a couple problems, and they could be whatever. One time it's pee stains on khaki pants. And then the other, it could be AIDS or Ebola or whatever. It could be, and their goal was to bring in a list of problems and then crowdsource what is the biggest problem in the universe by having the fans vote, have a running tally of votes on which problems were, and then by upvotes, they would crowdsource what is the biggest problem, right? And sometimes things weren't problems, like Maddox brought in dogs, I think. And some
I think I figured it out, though.
What's that?
The biggest problem was their relationship.
It was. I think they brought in that show as one of the problems one time, and then that ended up being true, I guess. But yeah, so long story short, they break up after 115 episodes, and then a little bit later, Maddox ends up suing Dick for somewhere between $20 and $400 million. The lawsuit was so poorly drafted, it's hard to tell how much they were actually asking for, but it was a terribly drafted lawsuit. And
is it better or worse than the Toddy one? Sorry, the response. Yeah, the response from Katie Joy to Toddy Westbrook that they are talking about now.
They wish that lawsuit was anywhere near as bad as what Maddox was turning in.
Oh, really?
Through his lawyer. It was absolutely. He hired a guy who, in my opinion, is one of the scummiest lawyers in the business that I've seen.
Yeah, he has a webpage dedicated to him.
Kevin Landau. Yeah, he does.
KevinALandau.com.
He's that guy. That's a guy you should try and interview. Very interesting man. He gets involved in very high profile cases. And then what he seems to do is get his clients into a position where they're on the hook for massive financial liability and potential sanctions to the court. And then he quits and then sues his clients. Awful representative of the legal profession, in my humble opinion. But yeah, so Kevin Landau is turning in really trash arguments, very poorly founded. Maddox ended up losing that lawsuit, but when it dropped, it's got such big numbers attached and it's a lawsuit. So you got a lot of people freaking out. And I finally get a hold of the thing. I'm sitting on my couch and with my wife, we're watching TV and I start flipping through this. And I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm going to drink some whiskey and just record a video for the group and tell them it's stupid. So I did that. And then suddenly I had a YouTube channel doing it. So
you backed into it.
Yeah, completely accidental. But the first video I did, had like several thousand views right away. I had several thousand subscribers following and going along. And then it was just up and up and up from there. So, it was like, okay, people like this, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say so. You've got a plug here that you might want to write down for a future use. Nick is fighting to bring escapism back through commentary on cancel culture and the legal shenanigans accompanied with the drama.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot real quick and use that later. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Bad Vibes is an awesome fan of the channel as well. But yeah, that's kind of what it's merged into. You can tell probably by my background, which is not law books, but it's a lot of.
I saw you with that one you props with Emily Baker. That you both agreed that any lawyer that has law books behind them is a complete.
Yeah,
I think would be right.
Especially that one. But yeah,
legal fans out there.
There shouldn't be any. That guy's. Anyway. Yeah. So no, I'm a big proponent of escapism and I hate seeing escapism be taken away. And what I mean by that is escapism is meant to get us away from all the stuff that you see on the news and everything every day. And it lets you just get into a world and process an issue. I mean, that's what sci-fi is for. You change all the rules of the universe to focus, to allow someone to focus down on one or two or three aspects of humanity instead of the whole of it at once, and learn something about ourselves by removing all of the extra. And so when we go in and we say, well, this sci-fi book is problematic because it doesn't have representation of this. Exactly. Like that stuff. It's like, we know. That's the point, is that it doesn't have this issue because we don't want to learn about this issue. But there are.
Did you look into the sad puppies and angry puppy stuff that went? Since you're talking sci-fi,
yeah,
I don't know if you remember that scandal, but they literally stopped the award.
Yes,
it was like the Nebula Award or one of them.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember which one. That was something that I think wasn't Vox Day involved in that,
right? Which I have to say, I'm not really a big fan.
I've talked to Vox several times. I think he's a very interesting guy. He said some stuff, of course, that is very, very controversial. But I will also say, and Vox doesn't need me to defend him, and I'm not here to do that or anything.
Sure.
But I will say, I think a thing that people don't realize about Vox is that Vox tends to process his thinking out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And so as he is working through an issue, either vocally or through the written word, I think people will take certain things that he works through and attribute those as like his core beliefs on something. And I don't think that's actually accurate. And one of the I had him on my show for an interview one time, and we talked about the Anders Breivik comment, right? Where that's when he got a lot of flack for, is saying that Norway would recognize Anders Breivik as a saint in X amount of years. That wasn't Vox.
I'm not sure who that is, so I'm kind of
the guy who killed the 70 children, the mass murder.
Oh God, that dude.
Right. And so the way that when you take that statement out of context, it looks like Vox is venerating Anders Breivik. But when you take the statement in context with what he's saying that Norway's culture tends to venerate these sorts of people after a given amount of time.
Okay, and so he's not very good at drawing the extra, shall we say, path to get there. Well, you need to lay a lot more road between the two things.
Well, I think people no, because he wrote that in a long piece or a longer interview, but people just, now we just grab a clip of something.
Oh, sure.
Right. Sure. Like even someone could take this interview and they could take what I just said. And
I hope so. Can you make sure they put a link back?
Yeah, I'm linking this. Like if we're going to destroy this Rekieta Law guy, make sure you link this other guy.
No kidding, man. I need clicks, man. Yeah. So, we got pull that out of context.
But no, I think, now I'm not saying that every idea Vox say is great, and I don't think he would want anything like that. But it's just there's a tendency for people to favor a certain type of communication style today that didn't fit 20 years ago even. And
sure, I find him politically a little bit too alt-rightish for me. I'm not a big fan of Stephen Molyneux.
Yeah, me neither. I make fun of that guy a lot.
Well, that guy, he genuinely hates women, and that's what kind of tipped me on him. It was like, dude, I have never heard somebody say the crap that you do. It's like, no, this isn't being funny or ironic. It's pretty vile.
Look, Stephen, I grew up and my dad beat me for 10 years straight every single day. And well, what did your mother do about it? No, he was beating her too. Well, see, she kept giving him access. Like, whoa, okay,
she enabled him.
Somebody, there can be just a bad guy. Like, that's okay. Bad guys can exist. No, I get it. That's I think in a lot of right-leaning circles, he's referred to as Stephen Molly meme, because he gets kind of out there. I find him interesting. I used to listen to his show. I liked
his presentation is good, but it's like I listen to words, and when the words come out, it's like even a dummy like me. Eventually, I go, something's not quite right here.
If you want to listen to something that I found really interesting of his. He did he did a series of shows called The Truth About George Washington, The Truth About Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if they're accurately truth. I'm not a historian, and I'm not digging into the same sources as him, but he provides, especially with Washington, a real counter narrative to the character of George Washington. And it is allegedly based on primary sources that are contemporary to Washington at the time. At the time. And just hearing that alternate perspective, it humanizes and devenerates Washington a little bit. And it's like,
which is probably good because I mean, he was a person. I mean, one, he didn't win a lot of battles.
No, he didn't win any.
I mean, he was very good at showing that he's too dumb to quit. Okay, we give up.
He was good at living through them. Yes. And in fact, one of his first things, right, was to lead a bunch of men to slaughter. And he was like the last guy, the only guy to live through that whole engagement. But yeah, so he breaks down kind of this sort of alternate view of Washington. And I thought that series really good. Of course, it doesn't involve his analysis of women's influence very much. So it's kind of removed.
Yeah, that was already taken care of at that time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So don't worry, there wasn't too much women being
Right.
listened to or interpreted to queries. So that's fine. It was already pre-filtered, clean material for him.
But those are pretty interesting. He did one on Washington. He did one on Lincoln. I think he did one on MLK. And again, I don't think they're a complete picture of any of these people, but they are an alternate picture of these people, and that is always an interesting thing to kind of look at and to say, we do have a tendency to do this with people who are attached to greatness, the founding fathers in general. Malcolm Gladwell did a great.
Speaking of Gladwell, I got to do it before I forget because I forgot it from earlier. LSAT. Last season, the first 2 episodes of his show Revisionist History are all about how the LSAT is a poor exam.
Right.
And how it can be redone. So
yeah,
you need to check those out.
No, I've listened to all of them. I love Revisionist History.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, I listened to it. I disagree entirely.
Well, you're a quick test taker, I bet.
I'm very good at taking tests.
You disagree entirely for yourself.
Yeah. No, I think there's a reason for it. Okay, tests, both the LSAT, the bar, and law school, none of them are good indicators of who will be a good lawyer. They're just not. There's too many factors that go into it, and the type of law that you do and the type of clientele you deal with, all of that depends on if you'll be a good or successful lawyer, and the location you're in. It's, for example, for me, the type of person that I am and the type of things I care about and the place that I live make it very hard for me to be a successful lawyer. I don't really want to do DUI work, for example. Right. So I'm turning away tons of money at the door. I'm not very good at collecting bills from people. I'm just not. So I turn away tons of money out the back door. So my personality doesn't do well with that. If I worked at a firm, I'd probably be better at it because you've got a billing department that deals with that type of stuff and they set your rates and all of that. But I don't do well with authority. So, you need
to be in a small practice with indulgent partner who is a bit more responsible.
On YouTube is where I need to be.
Well, no, and actually that's where I was going to ultimately go with this because we're already running over and I apologize for that.
I stream long, so this.
I know that. Yeah, I know you have an evening too, so I have to make sure on that. But how does it feel? Because you kind of became a YouTube personality, hanging out with the other personalities, and ironically, are bigger than some of the personalities that you were following.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's got to be odd.
The only one I was really primarily following is the Dick Show. I certainly have been attached to other shows and stuff like that because I've guested on there or whatever. But that was the main show that I kind of followed. And Dick has, I don't know, since he does the podcast, it's hard to really gauge what his audience is. So I don't know if my show's bigger. All I know is his Patreon is fantastic and I would love it.
Well, but that is an irony. You'll have somebody will have a show with 1,000 people and 900 of them are paying.
Yeah, okay, I think his show does have quite a bit of reach, but you just can't. It's not as easy to see as on YouTube where you see subscribers and view counts and stuff. But no. So it is a little bit weird to kind of come up in this sort of community of YouTube, but it's just been a ride, man. It's been a fun one too. And that's been the real sort of eye-opening experiences, seeing how life is just a little bit different as you do this public sort of persona thing.
Are you home?
Am I home?
Yeah, as in, you've done the different jobs. I mean, is this your home? Do you feel like, you know what, this is my gig?
As long, I have long said that this is the best job I've ever had. The job where I can entertain people is something I've always wanted to do. I mean, I was a writing major for a reason. I was a literature major because they made me be. I was a writing major because I wanted to entertain people. And I wanted to write movies or books or whatever. It just didn't work in Minnesota at the time.
Sure.
It would work maybe better now, but I don't think so. The way the industries are going, I think it's going towards what we're doing. I think that's where people are going to find their entertainment. So
you're actually qualified.
I mean,
you actually are a lawyer. No, I mean, I'm sorry, that does give you that extra little bump. And now you've got the relationships. Technically, you could just bone up on internet law a little bit more and be kind of a de facto YouTube lawyer.
Kind of. The problem I have with doing that is I like to be a little goofier, and a little looser than that. So I don't have much desire to do much legal practice. I just don't really do it. I mean, I do practice on occasion when I can help someone out. I like to give advice to people as I can and help them in sort of smaller problems. If the problems get big, I will refer them to lawyers who are better suited to do that work. For me, I like coming on and talking to people. And so as long as I can do that and have it, and believe me, I don't need it to pay a lot. Just have it pay enough, and that I don't have to do something else, I will. I mean, it's the most fun job that I've ever had, that I can do it. And it's not easy or anything. It's not fun because I don't have to work or anything like some people.
God, no, your live streams are like 11 at night till God only knows when in the morning. That they're a little bit nutty.
But I mean, people get this illusion, and they probably do about you too, and it's an unfair one, is that, well, you just get on a camera and talk. It's like, well, I mean, kind of, but you spend a lot of time looking into, like you were talking about, you do a lot of research on your subjects, your subjects being your interviews.
I'm like, no, I'm not doing surgery, man. It's just an interview. It's like, no, I'm going to tailor them down and transfer.
You know what I mean? You look into stuff, and it takes time, it takes attention, and that's what you have to do. It's the same for me, like trying to get to, okay, how do I fill 3 hours and make people feel like it was worth it every single night? It's a lot of work during the day. And so, but I like it. I like doing it. And so as long as I can keep doing it and like it, then yeah, I'm home, happy to be so. Please don't cancel me, YouTube.
Well, speaking of income, Dragon's Treasure. Do you know this?
Yeah, Dragon's Treasure tea. It's anime themed tea. Okay. So, do you watch anime, sir?
No, I do not.
Well, should you watch any anime, you should watch Akira. That's a classic. I know you've got a little bit of sci-fi in your blood. I can see Star Wars behind you.
Very little, because I'd say that I like the first Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and The Mandalorian. The rest of it, you can just shove into a sewer and set it on fire.
You're almost where I am. I just shove all of it into a sewer and set it on fire. Okay, well, I don't like any Star Wars.
The Mandalorian was fantastic.
I've heard. I haven't watched it. It's on my wife and I's list to watch, but I'm just not. It takes me time to get into something. But okay, so Dragon's Treasure makes anime themed tea. The cool thing about anime, I'm not a huge anime fan, but the cool thing about it is that there is really a flavor for whatever you want. They have every genre in there, from the serious to the ridiculous. But that being said, it's high quality hand cut tea. He's a really good guy. And it's all loose leaf. So you have to measure it. You have to get a little tea.
Oh God, it's fiddly.
Trust me, it's worth it though. If you make the tea right? Like Lipton is, you get boiling water and you pour it in over the bag in the cup, and then it tastes kind of acrid and whatever. This stuff is like, okay, this type of tea has to steep at 185 degrees for 3 minutes.
Okay.
And if you follow those directions, you get a really good experience in your cup.
Well, dragons reach out. I mean, well, I'm happy to talk to you.
Yeah,
Obviously.
he's a good dude. Absolutely.
Very cool. And then up, bad vibes again. We have a love/roast relationship with Nick. We love to roast him, and he loves to make us smarter while laughing at him for him while he rants. By the way, Nikki, you're overdue for an epic rant. No, he did a good one on Supreme Court, and we may be spinning into that.
Sure.
Are you like me? I actually enjoy it when people are picking on me, because then I know that, I'm being entertaining at least.
It depends on the picking. I try to let there's picking, right, and there's criticism, which is fair, and there's other criticisms that are less fair, or people who are just flat out wrong about me or about stuff. That stuff does get really irritating. You try to let it go, but at the end of the day, if you have a bunch of people telling you something about you that isn't true, that kind of, it'll get to you after a bit, but that comes with the territory. But no, with my audience especially, picking on me, yelling at me over election lawsuits and stuff like that is part of it. And I do think that engagement is important. If people are engaging you critically, then they're engaged, and that's a pretty important aspect of what we do.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it's like, if nobody's going to bust my balls, and I'm just too serious for being around them anyway. Yeah, I don't really want to be that guy.
Right.
It's like, well, no. Actually,
no, and for me, I welcome jokes of all kinds, and of all stripes, right? Like, let's have fun. Let's remember. I was saying this. So there's a criticism of my video yesterday that I read, and it was that this video was going to follow me to my grave, and that I must have dispelled all illusions of ever working in the legal field ever again because of the video I did yesterday, right? And the shorts and the shirt.
Oh,
and I was like, someone mentioned it, and I said, I think people way overestimate how much any of this stuff kind of matters. Like, and when you're on the internet, this is a Twitter phenomenon in general that goes beyond anybody, is we forget that normal people go home from work and they sit down, they unbutton their pants, they laugh, they drink, they swear, they get into arguments, they have kids who do something stupid. We're all people, but on the internet, we're not supposed to be anymore. Like, everything is everything is supposed to be serious all the time. It's like, but you're not serious. You're not serious at home. Like, you just go home and you're not at work. You're like, oh, thank God. Oh, or you finally get out of that, elevator, and you just belch really loudly when the doors close because all those people aren't there anymore. Like, that's who we are. And on the internet, you just get to see that side of people, maybe a little more when they broadcast it. But I think people we're so wrapped up in the idea that, like, if you do something that's ever not suit and tie, that suddenly the world's going to realize that you're a person again.
Exactly. And I'm supposed to ask you about Kermit voice. That's come up a few times in the chat.
Depends what you want me to say in Kermit's voice.
Oh, no. I guess you could do Jordan Peterson if you want.
You know about the Kermit voice. Don't lie.
Actually, in the spirit of the end of the day, it is that time. So I was thinking of you.
Oh, very good. Very good. Alcohol is not recommended. It can lower inhibitions. It can, you can sometimes end up washing your balls when you're not planning on it.
Well, dude, this has been fantastic, and I love to leave things on the table because I definitely want to continue the conversation. I feel like we're just scratching the surface, and there's stuff here I don't think you've talked about a lot before.
If I have, it's been buried for like 2 years in, hundreds of hours of live streaming. So it'd be tough to find.
Well, this will be a good Cliff Notes shortcut. So, all right, everybody, Rekieta Law on YouTube. And obviously everybody knows that because they're
Yeah,
here and most of the chat are your peeps. And anything else? Rekieta Meet on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can follow me, Rekieta Media, on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch. Normally, I'm not dressed like that. Normally, it's just like this setup, and I play video games at night or watch movies with the chat, which is a very fun pastime of mine. But that's Rekieta Law on Twitch.
Oh, you know what you should do? Sometimes if you ever get bored on occasional Sundays, I take tests with the audience. Things like the villain test to find out which villain I wind up as. You could be like Mao or Hitler or whatever. It's good fun for all.
I'd get like Urkel or something. Just like...
Oh no, it's actual villains. I was like, let's see. And by the way, I mutilated your name right there. I just turned myself doing it. It's like, oh
yeah, Mithrin Emrith.
Rekieta.
Oh,
Rekieta. And then it's Mithrin. Problem with internet people, they think they know about e-drama, and Legal Schmiegel is an example of taking himself way too seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy. He does kind of give off a smug vibe, though, which
what I don't like
triggers me.
Yeah, what I don't like about him is when I think about what a lawyer on YouTube looks like, it's exactly his channel, and that's what makes me hate it. I don't. When I go on YouTube, I want real. Like, I want to know the person. I can't know Devin very much because it's a veneer, and I don't like that. It's like, no, who are you? That's what I always want to bring. That's why I don't, when people have criticisms of me doing something, I'm like, but this is just me. It's like, that's who I am. I make jokes. I have fun times with people, and I try to get along with just about everybody, whether or not they're failures or bad people or whatever it may be. Like, I have family members who probably done worse than bad people on the internet. So I still like my family members. I don't like what they did, but I like them. Sure. So it's can we just go back to just being people instead of...
I would love to put Devin with Barnes. Barnes would just clean his clock, and it would just be such a mythic moment, movie fitting if you think about it, because Barnes does that Southern gentleman pipe smoking boss hog thing so freaking perfectly, and he's a walking encyclopedia. I mean, you could barely scratch the surface of his knowledge. It would be hilarious.
It would be good. It would also probably be an absolute disaster for Devin. He is smart enough to know it, so I doubt he'd ever do it.
No way in hell. No way in hell. Well, dude, we've got to set that up, and thank you freaking so much. And everybody, I'm going to try to get him back. So you got to be subscribed so you can see him when he's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, subscribe to Eric, and I got to have you on my show sometime. We'll talk about anything.
Definitely.
So,
all right. Well, perfect. And thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Chat.